Guys, welcome to my channel. We are reading W. Bruce Cameron, A Dog's Journey. We are going to be on chapter 14 today. So here we go. Chapter 14. CJ was anxious and scared. Cheryl, can I talk to you for a minute privately? The woman was still petting me, but I was watching CJ to see what was wrong. Sure, the woman said. I started to follow them down the hall, but then CJ turned and said, "Stay, Molly." I knew stay, but it was my least favorite thing to do. I sat for a minute, then got up and went down to sniff under the door where they had gone. They were in there for about 10 minutes, and then the door popped open and the woman came out with a hand to her mouth. She was crying. CJ was upset too. And felt sad. The woman got her coat and Gloria came up to holding a glass. What happened? She looked between CJ and the woman crying. What did you say to her? CJ shook her head. The woman said, I'm so sorry. I'll call you to Gloria, and then was out the door. Gloria was very angry. Trent came up from behind her and looking from Gloria to CJ, then moving past Gloria to stand by CJ. I lifted my nose and touched his hand as he passed. What happened? Gloria said. Molly signaled the way she'd been trained for cancer. She signaled Sherry had cancer. Oh God, Trent said. Some people had come down the hallway and I heard one of them say cancer. Who has cancer? And you had to tell her now, Gloria hissed. She then turned, jerking her head when she saw people behind her. It's nothing, she said. What happened? A man asked. CJ shook her head. Just a personal conversation. Conversation, I'm sorry. The people stood for a moment and then turned away. You only care about yourself, Gloria said. How does that make sense? Trent responded, his voice loud. Trent, CJ said. She put her hand on Trent's sleeve. Do you know how much money this party cost? Gloria said. The party, Trent said. Trent, don't, CJ said. Just, you know what, Gloria, give my excuses to your friends. Tell them I got a headache and I'm going to my room. Gloria made a loud noise and then turned and stared at me hatefully. I glanced away from her eyes. She spun and strode off down the hallway, where the people had silently withdrawn. When she got to the end of the hallway, she stopped, straightened her back, and tossed her hair. Gatsby, she called into the living room. Where did you get to? I'll get your coat, CJ said to Trent. His shoulders slumped a little. You sure? I could stay with you for a while. Talk? No, it's okay. CJ went into Gloria's bedroom and came out with Trent's coat. He put it on. He was sad. CJ smiled at him. Hey, in case I don't see you, Merry Christmas. Yeah, same to you. CJ, you do get that your mom's wrong, don't you? That you might have upset Cheryl, but you gave her really important information. And if you had waited because you didn't want to disturb the party, you'd have a hard time ever telling Cheryl at all because, well, it would look crazy that you had waited, you know? So don't let her get to you, okay? Don't let Gloria into your head. They stood and looked at each other for a moment. Okay, Trent, CJ finally said. Trent turned and went to the door, and we followed. Then he paused and looked up. Hey, mistletoe. CJ nodded. Well, come on then, Trent said. CJ laughed held out his arms. Trent pressed forward and kissed her, and I jumped up and put my front feet on her back so I could be part of whatever was going on. Whoa, CJ said. Okay, well, goodbye. Merry Christmas, Trent said. I tried to slip out the door with him, but CJ held me back. Then she shut the door and looked at it for a moment, while I looked at her, wondering what we were doing. I would have been happy to circulate under the feet of all the loud people in the living room and eat treats, but CJ went up to her room, snapping her fingers for me to follow. She took off her loud clothes and put on what she usually wore, a soft shirt that went to her knees. She got into bed with the lights on, holding a book. Books are okay to chew on, though. They are fairly tasteless, and it always makes people unhappy when a dog does so. They are one of those toys that dogs aren't supposed to play with. I curled up on the floor next to her bed and fell asleep, though I was conscious of the hum of people talking below me. And later, the front door opened and shut a few times. Then there was a knock sound, and I woke up. The bedroom door pushed open. "Hello, CJ," said a man. I recognized his scent from downstairs. When he had reached down to feed me a piece of fish, his watch slid down his wrist with a heavy sound. "Oh, hi, Gitsby." The man laughed and came into the room. "Call me Gus. The only person who calls me Gitsby is your mother. I think that's because she believes I'm an Italian royalty." He laughed again. "Huh?" CJ said. She smoothed the blankets down oh my gosh, over her legs. The man shut the bedroom door behind him. "So, what are you reading?" he asked. "You're drunk, Gus." "Hey, it's a party." The man sat down heavily on the bed, his feet on the floor right by me. I sat up. "What are you doing? Get out of my room," CJ said. She felt angry. The man put his hands on the blanket. "I loved that dress you were wearing. You have great steams." "You know what steams are." "Legs." The man pulled on the blanket. CJ pulled back. "Stop," she said. "Come on," the man said. He stood back up, reaching for CJ with both hands. I felt the fear coming off of her, and I leaped up and put my paws on the bed and thrusting my face at the man to snarled the way I'd gone after Troy, the horse, when he's been about to stomp on a baby. The man threw himself back and stumbled against the shelf on the wall, books and photographs falling to the floor. He twisted and with a crash fell on the carpet, lying on his side. I barked and lunged forward. My teeth were still barred. "Molly, it's okay. Good girl." I felt CJ's hand on my fur, which was stiff along the ridge of my back. "Hey," the man said. CJ found my collar and pulled me back. "You need to leave, Gus." He rolled and got to his knees. The door flew open and Gloria was standing there. "What happened?" she demanded. She looked at Gus, who was crawling on the floor. He put his hands on the bedpost and hauled himself to his feet. "Gusby, what happened?" He pushed past her out the hallway, his footsteps heavy. Gloria turned to face her daughter. "I heard the dog. Did he bite him?" "No, of course not." "Well, what is going on?" "You don't want to know, Gloria. Tell me." "He came in here and started touching me, okay?" CJ shouted. "Molly was protecting me." I turned my head at my name. Gloria turned rigid, and her eyes grew large and narrow and small. "You are such a liar," she hissed. She turned and ran away just as the front door slammed. "Gusby," she called. For the next several days, Gloria and CJ never seemed to be in the same room. When they sat down for a part of Merry Christmas where they tore paper and had boxes, they didn't talk to each other very much. CJ started eating her meals in her bedroom, and sometimes it would just be in tiny amounts of vegetables, and sometimes it would be wonderful plates full of noodles and sauces and cheeses or pizza and chips and ice cream. Then she would go into the bedroom and stand on a small box and make a sad noise. Every few hours, every single day, CJ would go stand on that small box. I started thinking of it as a sad box because that's how CJ always felt when she was on it. Trent came over with Rocky and we all played in the snow. It was the only time CJ seemed truly happy. I did not feel like a bad dog for snarling at the man. CJ had been afraid, and I did it without even thinking. I was worried that I'd be punished for it, but I never was. Soon CJ started doing school again. She and Gloria were talking to each other more often, but I could still feel the tension in the room between them. When CJ was in school, I would go down to my old place under the stairs and wait for her to come home, leaving only to go out through the dog door and play or bark at dogs I could hear yapping off in the distance. We no longer went to see Andy every day, but sometime we'd go for a visit, and it was always wonderful to see her. People do that. Just when the routine is established, they'll change it. On these occasions, after the usual greeting, hugs and kisses, we played the game with people sitting in the chairs, and also a new game with people sitting or sometimes standing in the long line. This is what my grant is for, is to see if a dog could signal positive on people in a group. Andy said only Luke has been able to figure it out. Luke looked up at his name. We went up and down the line of people, and the first couple of times we did so, I could tell that Andy and CJ wanted something from me, but I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. And then I caught an odor coming off of a woman with no hair and with hands that smelled like harsh soap. There it was, the unmistakable metallic smell on her breath. I signaled, and I was given a biscuit. That seemed to be the game, though. I couldn't be sure because Andy kept leading me to other people who didn't have the same scent, as if I was supposed to signal for them as well. When I did so, though, Andy would stand with her arms crossed and not give me a biscuit. It was very puzzling. One day I was out in the backyard in heavy new snow bounding through it, having to leap up with every step because of how deep it was. I heard the sliding door open and saw Gloria standing there. "Want a piece of roast beef?" she called. I hesitantly took a step towards her, then stopped. I could hear the question in her voice, but didn't know if it was meant I was in trouble or not. "Here," she said. She tossed something into the snow a few feet in front of me, and I went over to it. Far. It was a delicious piece of meat. I raised my head and looked back at Gloria, giving my tail an experimental wag. "Want another?" She pitched a piece of meat near me, and I jumped on it, snorting until I found it and ate it in the quick gulp. When I looked up, Gloria had gone back inside. What I wondered had that been all about. Then I heard Gloria calling from the front yard. "Yoo-hoo, Molly, dog want another treat?" "Treat?" I bounded over to the gate and found it open. The walk had been shoveled by the man who came by on the winter mornings with a truck to clear away the snow. I trotted around the side of the house. Gloria was standing in the driveway. "Treat," she said. She tossed another piece of meat, and I snagged it out of the air. She opened her rear car door. "Okay, want to get in? Treat?" Her meaning was clear. I hesitantly made my way over to the open door. She pitched some meat into the rear floor, and I jumped in, and she shut the door while I gulped down on the treat. Then she got in the car, started it, and we drove off down the driveway. I didn't mind that I wasn't the front seat dog. I didn't think I would like it with Gloria driving. I stared out the window at the snowy trees and yards for a while, then circled around, lying down on the seat for a nap. I woke up and shook when the car stopped and Gloria turned it off. She twisted around in her seat. "Careful now. Remember, I fed you a treat." "You be nice, Molly." I wagged at my name. I sniffed at Gloria's hand as they came around my throat. What the heck? But there was no meat in them. With a sudden click, my collar dropped off and landed in the seat. I lowered my nose to it. Gloria got out of the car and opened my door. Come along, heel. Be a good dog. Don't run off. We were approaching the building that reckoned of dogs. Gloria pushed open the front door and slapped her leg, and I followed her inside. Inside was a small room with an open door through which I could hear what had to be more than a dozen dogs barking. Hello, hello, Gloria called. A woman came out through the open door and smiled. Yes, can I help you? I found this poor dog abandoned in the streets, Gloria said. There's no telling how long he's been living like that, alone, and far, far away from his family. Is this where you drop off lost dogs? Damn, that is so annoying. That is the most annoying. I hate Gloria. Alright, well, that is the end of chapter 14, guys. I will see you guys in chapter 15.